Hi, I'm Sue Watson, and I am part of the Wahl's elite team. And today, this is Mr. Ace, and he belongs to Aaron. He is a senior marketing associate here at Wahl Clipper, and he's letting me do a haircut on his boy. So when you take a look at this guy, he's actually built well, but he's well loved, so he's got a little extra padding, and that's okay. But we can balance this dog out just by changing the haircut. Instead of making him one even length all over, if we left just a little bit of extra length on the legs and take this body short, it's gonna help make his legs look more proportionate to the body size. So that's what we're gonna work on today. Now he's had his bath, so he's all ready to go. But I just wanna stress how important prep is and how you should be able to run your comb through his coat flawlessly. If it hangs up anywhere, that means you have a tangle that you need to get out before you start. So making sure that you're getting your coat well washed, dried, and combed out before you start is going to give you the best overall finish. So we're going to be working with the KMC Plus today, and the reason I love this clipper is because, first of all, it's cordless, so I don't have to worry about walking around my table and getting tangled up in the cords. It also has a nice run time, which really helps with getting my dogs done for the whole day. And it's lightweight and easy to maneuver. So with that, because we're gonna leave the legs longer, I start by cutting my legs in first. And I know that seems backwards, but by doing that helps me blend my lines better. So we're gonna start with a zero comb. So we're gonna start by cutting down the whole front part of the leg. And they like him longer, but not too full that they can't take care of him. He lives out in a wooded area, so they wanna keep him nice and easy to take care of. But they also want him to look like he's got style. So we're cutting down the whole leg, all the way down to the foot. Now you can see not as much hair is coming off from down here. That's because when he was groomed, the bottoms of the legs were scissored shorter, but that's okay because now we're gonna even all that out. And we don't have to worry about cutting down back here yet. We can get that when we do the body. We're gonna lift up, we're gonna come over the foot because we want the foot to blend into the leg. We don't want the foot to look like it's separate. And this is gonna leave that nice plushy finish. We don't have to worry about cutting any part of this down right now because we're gonna move to the front leg and get our front leg cut in. Up you go. We are just gonna cut our tuck up area because that's gonna be a little bit longer anyway because we don't wanna remove all of that. And then I'm gonna come around to the front. So that sets our rear leg. So now I'm gonna cut down the thick part of the shoulder. I'm gonna blend into the shoulder, but I don't wanna make it too short that I put a gap between the base of the muscle on the shoulder and going into the front leg. There's always that dip that is there, but if we kind of disguise it, we can blend it and it looks much better. You have a much longer line. Make sure you're getting up in the armpit. And now we're gonna come to the front. Now, if they have long ears and you find they're getting in your way, unhook your loop, put the ear through, tighten the loop again, and lock it. That gets the ear out of the way. So now we're gonna cut down the front of the leg, and we're gonna get this inside too. You can't forget that. Come over the foot. It's okay, it's all right. It's all right. Now, some dogs resist when you hold their foot, but they just need to get used to it. There are some groomers that don't pick the feet up. I always make sure I do, because I want a nice, smooth finish. And he's never met me, I've never met him, so it's a little bit different than he's used to. We're not going up into the body, just like on the rear leg. We're just staying right at the leg. And we're just gonna do a couple of passes to make sure we have everything nice and even. The more even we can clip, the less scissor work we have to do. You literally should just have to do a 2-minute tidy up on the leg once you're done clipping. Okay, so that concludes our leg part. And now we're gonna switch to a shorter blade for the body. So now I switched to a number 2 comb instead of a blade because I want a plushier finish. When you use a metal blade like a 4F, which would be the same length as this blue comb, it lays a little bit flatter. I actually want the coat to look plushier, so using the comb is gonna give me that finish. We're gonna start right up here at the neck, and we're gonna come down. And make our first pass. It's gonna take a couple of passes to smooth this out. Now, you notice I'm not back brushing my coat, but I don't feel I need to. The clipper is doing all my work for me by using my brush at the same time. If your coat is propped correctly, you shouldn't have to back brush, but we're clearing off the top and smoothing that out before I come along the side of the legs. So we have that nice plushy finish on the back coat. And now I can work on blending in my legs. But it's a nice plushy finish. It lays real nice. So yeah, now we'll start on the leg. And because we left the front part longer, we want to follow the actual muscle for the thigh. And sometimes it's easier to hold it and make that muscle pop. So hold that longer hair to the inside of the leg and come down your thigh. Don't leave a big high hip. He doesn't need it. He's got enough body. He doesn't need the extra padding. But we're gonna follow that muscle and then just blend, so it should be seamless. So you can't actually see there's a length difference, but you can already see that it's balancing his body better. You wanna clip this away from under the tail, come down your rear leg, and get that angulation cut in. So right at the bend, you're gonna scoop your clipper out. Just scoop it out. And you don't need to come all the way down. That part you'll just trim in when you touch up with your scissors. If you wanna check your blending work, this is a good time to pick up your comb. Comb everything in place. And just fine tune your blending. Now I followed that whole muscle, so I didn't come all the way down. I stopped at the muscle line and just followed into the back leg. And that gives you a nice shape on the rear leg. And now we can transition to our front leg. Okay, so now we're up at the front, and we're gonna take all this off, and I'm gonna blend into the shoulder muscle And the height that I want to go at is actually going to be equal to this line here is where you start your blending, and then it's going to match up where you started your blending here. So it's kind of a good reference point so that you have the dog better balanced when you look at those 2 points. Another good point of reference is point of shoulder on the front of the chest. And you can feel that little knob that sticks out. And it's a good point of reference that you're getting your lines lined up correctly. Then we're gonna go ahead over to the side here on the rib cage, and we're gonna follow down. And this is where you're gonna see a bigger transformation. You can see how taking the body shorter and leaving the legs a little bit fuller is actually going to help set this dog up better all the way around. You wanna take all this underneath off. He doesn't need it. So just round. And once you round that way, you can come a little backwards with your clipper under the chest just to flick that off and blend it, and then come back and blend the rest of that off. Learning how to maneuver your clipper also helps a lot. Takes practice, but you'll get it. Now, when it comes to our tuck up, we left that a little bit longer. We cut it with the 0 comb, but now we want to actually cut in a waist. And the best way to do that is to roll the body. So if we roll this over, all this pops out. And you can see it just protrudes out. So if we, gotta stay up now. Once we roll it and all this comes out, now all we have to do is blend here. Straight down, don't go underneath because then you'll take off your area. But now we've cut in a little bit of a waistline. And that's gonna help balance him better. We're gonna lift up the front leg. All this stuff here is gonna come off. He doesn't need the extra length on his chest, so we might as well get rid of it. It's gonna help make his leg look longer. It's gonna disconnect the leg from the body, which is good too. It shows a better movement when he's out in the yard. And it's not like your clients are gonna say, oh, my dog was moving out in the yard so much better today. I wonder why. They don't know what the difference is, they just know it's different. Now, because he has a wavier coat, if you wanna just take your comb and run through, just to make sure you've got everything set where you want it. You don't have to comb up yet. We save that for the scissor work so that you know your blending is where you want it. So if you see anything, this is the time you can come in and you're just feathering what didn't blend. You're not actually cutting all the way to the skin. You're just kind of flicking the hair off. And that's our clipper work on the body. We're gonna leave the neck for when we go up into the head, and then we'll talk about how to blend that. Okay, so now that we're done with our clipper work, we're gonna finish our feet, comb everything down. And when I start my feet, I always make my first cut at the 2 longest nails in the center of the foot. That helps me round the foot out. And he's got a real nice round foot to begin with, but I want to make sure it stays that way. If I were to start trimming on the side, you tend to cut that too short and it pinches the foot. Hold the foot up Don't hold it up higher than the dog can tolerate. And trim all the hair right here. We want to trim all this hair here. So just comb down. You can trim it on a 45-degree angle, which helps keep it up off the ground when he goes outside. If you see any hair coming between the toes, make sure you get those too. That's gonna help keep your foot cleaner. We're gonna put the foot down, comb our sides out, and now we're just gonna do a little light trim work here to connect our back to our front. What you do to the outside, you need to remember to do to the inside. And you can see those little flanges sticking out that you're just gonna trim. Now, most people would say, oh, that's a nice trimmed foot. We don't need to do any more, but we actually do. So if you pick up your foot, comb up, there's always a ridge that comes out over the toes. And if you trim that and blend that in, it's gonna help bring your foot blended up into the body. So now you have a plushier looking foot and it blends into the whole bottom of the leg. Now we comb up. And you need to comb up and not down because you want this coat to stand up better. And the more you comb it up to scissor it, the better it's gonna be. Now we're just gonna scissor up to finish blending our pattern line so that it's seamless. Check the knee area for any stray hairs. Now we have to look at the inside of the rear leg. So we're gonna comb up. Everything needs to be combed up, and you're gonna just scissor straight down to make sure that you have that nice parallel line. While you're doing that, check the outside of your leg as well. If you see something, then you can get it when you finish this part. But this is gonna give you those nice parallel lines, inside and outside. If you need to lift this leg up, again, don't lift it higher than the dog can tolerate, but this allows you to check the front part of the inside of the rear leg. If you see something on the foot that looks like it's sticking out, go ahead and grab that then. This way you're not jumping all over your dog. You're staying in one section and then moving on. Now we're gonna make sure that we're getting all these little ends that are popping out because we want it to match all the way around. So just kind of neatening up. And that's all it takes. It really shouldn't take you any more than 2 minutes to go over this leg. We're gonna cut in this area here, roll the body so this tuck-up area sticks out, and we're gonna scissor the excess hair and just lighten up that edge, just to get that semicircle. And we still managed to do that leg in under 2 minutes. After you're done scissoring, you can go back in and spray the coat and add that curl back to the coat. But if you scissor while the coat is straight, you're gonna have a much better finish and the haircut's gonna grow out nice. So that's our rear leg, and we're gonna move to the front. We're gonna comb all this down, all the way around, and we're gonna make our first cut in front of the 2 longest nails. Now you can see that seems to be the longest part on him, which would tell me that when he was done last, that they did the sides first, taking those shorter. But now we're gonna round this foot out, and it's actually gonna blend into the leg better and give him a better look. We're gonna comb down. Any hair that's close to this big pad here, we're gonna trim. I go on a slight angle, generally 45 degrees, so that way as it grows out, it stays off the ground better. This really helps keep the feet cleaner in between grooms, and customers love that. Now we're gonna comb down the sides. So any sticky outies are now gonna be trimmed just to connect your front part of the foot to the back. And that gives you that nice, perfect round foot. And again, you would say, oh, that looks finished. I don't need to do anything. But if we comb up, now this one has a much bigger ridge than our rear foot did. And all of this that is now sticking up, you're gonna scissor at a slight angle and trim that in so it blends into the leg. This is where if you see something that's sticking out on the bottom, you would fix that. And when you put it down, you see how much more that foot blends into the leg, and it just looks so much better. It gives it that plushy, polished finish. And now as we comb up the leg, we can see what needs to be scissored just to even and blend the finish. We start at the top, make sure that pattern line is well blended in. Any sticky outies around the elbow, we're gonna trim off. He doesn't need the excess there. Anything along the back part of the leg, we're gonna fix. It should go pretty quickly if your clipper work is smooth. And you can see there's this area that just popped out. It's okay, it's okay. You wanna sit? That's fine, it's okay. Now, like I said before, he's used to just having his foot on the table. I try to train all my client dogs to allow me to hold the foot, because then it allows me to manipulate the leg a little better and see what I need to see. And we're just tipping off, and I mean tipping. We're not going in and scissoring a whole new length. And you don't need to scissor shorter to compensate. You already set the length with your guard comb. So now we're gonna stand him up, and we're gonna make sure everything is blending all the way around. And you see how easy this comb goes through the coat? All of that is in your prep work. Now we saw a couple of hairs that came out, and this could be a good point to switch to your chunkers if you prefer to use those. I tend to use my straights more than I use chunkers, but you are welcome to use what you feel comfortable with. But you can see I have a nice smooth finish, so I don't have to worry. We're gonna hold his ear up, and we're just gonna get this front part of the chest blended in. So we're gonna comb up. We have this little white hair here, and we're gonna scissor here so it blends in and completes our finish. And that's our two legs. So you can see we did a 2 on the body, a 0 on his legs, and how much better balanced he is. If we turn him around before we do the other side, it's gonna show you the vast difference. So you have this side, turn around, there we go. And you can see that he just has more shape than he had when we started. When you have this blocky finish, it really doesn't give him any style, and it doesn't show his body off well. So doing this, round you go, just gives him a much better look. He's much better balanced. So we'll get to the other side and we'll be back. Okay, so we got the other side of his body trimmed in, and now we're moving to his head and face. And we're gonna first cut in the back of his neck. You wanna make sure that you don't come up too high. So here would be his occiput. I know a lot of groomers start their clip up here, but when you do that, if you flatten this, you have no way to blend the back of this head into the neck. If you stay behind the ear and make your clip from the back of the ear into the neck, this is going to give you enough room to blend. This way your groom stays together and your dog looks more put together. So come all the way across from ear to ear and blend that all in. Now, if we were wanting to create a longer neck, we could leave a crest on him, but most of our pet dogs don't need it, and it just gets caught in the collar anyway and causes matting. So taking it off is fine, but just leave yourself some blending room so it looks better. Then we're gonna pick up his face. So his jawbone is actually way up here. For a large dog, it seems like it's not proportionate to his size, but it's actually a good thing because you can round this head up better. So we're gonna go to the jawline and we're gonna blend just a little bit of what's up onto the cheek into the side of the neck. And we're gonna get rid of all that sagging hair that was hanging down and give it a little more separation. And that's gonna give a cutoff at a better point. I'm gonna go slightly up on a V into the bottom part of his jaw. So I'm gonna come in and cut that V in there. I'm gonna do the same to the other side and then blend this side coming down. So we have that nice blend on both sides. And by getting rid of all that extra hair that was hanging down is actually gonna help balance this head and face better. With our doodle, it's so hard because not every head is shaped the same. So you need to feel bone structure and find out where your stopping and starting points are. By getting rid of that area that was filled with hair here, when he puts his head down now, he doesn't have a bunch of hair touching his throat. And it's actually gonna look better for him because you got rid of all that hanging coat that was against the throat area. And now we're gonna set a length for the head. Now, you can go in and scissor all this, but there's really no point in doing that. You can let your guard comb actually set your length, and it'll help make your scissor work go faster, and that will create more business in the salon. So we're just gonna pop that off, and I'm actually gonna use a C-comb because I generally go 1 to 2 lengths longer than what I used on the leg to help balance my head. Your head always clips a little bit shorter, and that's because there's not as much fat like he will carry on his legs and body. So you're just dealing with bone structure up here, and that area will clip shorter. So adjusting for that and getting a little more length out of it actually will help blend better. So we're gonna turn him a little bit this way, and we're gonna go in the direction the coat would lay naturally. So just take this front and go all the way to the back. And you can see most of the length that we're taking off is coming off the back of the head anyway. Very little came off the front and the top of the head. And that's because of the bone structure on his head, and we're actually gonna balance the back of the head better with the front. To help with your scissor line back here, I always come up and just skim that back edge to help blend that line in better before I start with my scissors. I'm gonna blend into the top of the ear, and they like a longer ear on him, but he'd look so much younger without all that long hair. We're gonna open this ear up. We're coming down the cheek line, and I'm actually not going to take anything off the muzzle. His muzzle is much narrower than his cheek line, so I'm gonna leave that to fill and just feather that edge in. This way I can box that face in a little bit better. We're gonna hold the chin, and we are gonna take the chin shorter. It's okay. He didn't want to. It's okay. There you go. But I'm not going into the muzzle. I'm just feathering that edge into the cheek line. And that's gonna help balance this head and face better. Same thing on this side. Open that ear up and come down the cheek and get that all trimmed in. We're gonna feather the face in. Just a little bit on the cheek line there. Come around to our chin and get that cut in. And already, even without scissoring, we have a much more rounded look to his face, and that kind of helps balance better. He's a roly-poly kind of guy anyway, so getting that in there will really help balance his face. All right, so now we're gonna start our trim work. But we have so much more cut off, and it's gonna make it easier. The first thing I wanna do is clean up the stop area. And I don't want to clipper his, I actually want a softer blended look. So I'm gonna use my chunkers, and I'm gonna turn them upside down. These are curved chunkers. And I'm gonna take out the inside corner, here, and here. We're gonna comb to check, because I wanna open up his eyes, but I don't want it so short that it's going to leave it unblended or leave a bald spot. And it's a much softer look. Then I'm gonna comb this forward, and I'm gonna set in over the eyes. We're gonna turn our chunkers over. And we're gonna make a nice arch over the eye. What we do to one side, we wanna do to the other. So just come across and blend that. If you wanna make sure you're getting the eyelashes, open up and then detail where you need to get that nice and short. I know we get those clients that don't want the eyelashes cut, but it's actually better if you can get rid of them. It stops a lot of the tearing. And it's much better for the dog. So we're gonna open this side up as well. But you wanna hold on tight because you don't want him to pop his head up into the scissors. So you wanna make sure you're holding on so you can feel movement. We're gonna comb it a third time to check our finish work because we want that nice even line all the way across. This helps set up into the head quicker. So when we comb up, we barely have to touch anything now in the front. By setting that line in helps. I'm gonna hold the ear forward, but I'm not going to pull it. If you pull it, you can see how it moves the head and it moves your lines. So if you do pull that ear forward, leave it natural, and you're going to comb up what you don't need or that you want to blend. So we're going to blend this over the ear. I don't want to separate my head and ears. He's not a poodle, so I don't want that harsh line. But I do want to clean up behind the ear because that'll get matted. Lift your ear up, and again, don't pull it. You want to leave it in a more natural way so you can continue that blending right here. And you think, well, you don't see it because the ear is down, but all this stuff will get matted and it will grow out faster and it will be hanging down before his next groom. So that leaves a nice blended finish over the ear. And it doesn't separate the head and ears, so it gives it that nice flow from the head right down into the longer ear. We're going to push this back. We're going to comb back this ridge. And all this ridge here needs to be trimmed. If this is laying where it should, this will actually help the ear to lay in place better. You can pull it open, get rid of all this long stuff here that's covering up the ear canal. This way more air will get in, but this helps round this all together. You can see these lines blending well. We're going to comb the cheek line up. And we're going to complete that line. Now he's already got a lot of cowlicks, but we're managing to trim them and blend so that it's not causing any issue. We're going to comb out. We're going to do our next set of lines, and we're working forward. We're going to comb the next set of line out. And you see, because the muzzle was already shorter, we're not having to do much to fix this muzzle because it was already pretty short. But it's blending into the cheek line much better. We're going to get that last bit out, comb up and around. We're scissoring from the bottom up so that we're forcing this coat to stand up better and support the rest of the face. But you have these nice gentle lines now, and everything is pulling together. But you can see now the shape of his face is much more black here than some of the doodles we do. So this is a better choice for him because he doesn't have the longer top skull and muzzle. So giving him a boxier look is actually going to be better for him. We actually have to treat them like they are different, like our own heads. We're going to come forward. We're going to neaten up this edge here. Anything that's hanging by the lip, we just want to neaten and tidy. But we have a nice follow through. And everything is blending. We're going to pick up his chin. And we're going to actually make sure that that's blending into the cheek line. He doesn't need a big long beard. He's got a blockier face, so cutting the chin a little bit shorter rounds it up and blends better. So Now we have that nice sweep all the way around the side. The chin blends in. If you see something, grab it then. Just to round that corner up. It's a much softer look if we get rid of the edges. But it's a nice, gentle finish. We are using chunkers instead of scissors, which is going to give us a softer look. And now we need to complete the other side. And once we get the other side scissored in, then we can comb this up. And anything we need to adjust, we can do at that point to bring both sides of our head and face together. So we're going to work on this side. The last thing we need to do is comb up the muzzle and make sure that our lines are all the same from one side going across to the other side to blend. Just so we're symmetrical and we make sure that we have everything where we want it, because as he grows out, then it's going to stay neater. So you have that nice symmetrical finish. And then we want to tidy up the ears. We're just going to comb down, and these uneven edges, we're just going to take our chunkers and come across the end just to tidy up. I always keep my finger there just to protect the ear. When I let go, we're going to check the edges. When you trim an ear, we always have this long piece that hangs down. We don't see it till we put the dog back in the kennel, and then it's like we're reaching in and trying to get it and never can. But if you just open the ear, you can see this long piece. It's okay. It's okay. Stay this way. We're going to trim that, and then we're just going to follow up this edge to the tip of the ear. This is going to help us keep that one long piece from ruining our day. And we drop it. We no longer have to worry about that long edge. We're just going to check to make sure we're even. So even when your pet parent says, I don't want the ears cut, all they mean is they don't want you to cut 2 inches off the ear. But you should always trim the ear bottom. It just finishes your groom better, and it just sets the ear in well for next time. So just give that nice finish, drop it, and just see how it frames the face. If you need to adjust it, you can, but that looks pretty good. So we're gonna comb all the loose hairs off. You should do that anyway before you remove your dog from the table, because then your pet parent isn't taking all that extra short hair home. And it just sets it up. But this is Ace. I think his daddy, Aaron, is going to be so excited for his new makeover.